That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Hi, friends. Welcome to a special bonus episode of That Sounds Fun. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm so happy to be here with you, coming at you live from a dressing room in El Paso, Texas, out on the Cane Tour. Today on the show, we're re-airing a special conversation, one that I got to have with my sister, Tatum Green, and our friend and counselor, David Thomas. We first shared this conversation back in February when Where Did TJ Go released, and it's one that so many of you have told me has stayed with you. Today, on October 15th, Infant Loss Awareness Day, we wanted to bring it back to honor the families who have walked through loss, to hold space for your stories, and to remind you that you are not alone. This is a tender and honest conversation. We talk about grief, faith, and what it looks like to keep trusting God when life doesn't turn out the way you thought it would. David offers such wise, gentle guidance, and I'm just so grateful for how he helped us put words to what we can feel is impossible to say. If you're following along in your TSF Seasons Guidebook, you'll actually find note-taking pages for this episode back in the winter section. It's on page 19. You can get your guidebook today at anniefdowns.com/seasons. And now let's revisit my conversation with my sister, Tatum Green, and our friend, David Thomas.
That sounds fun.
Well, David Thomas,
Well,
we're
here
going
we
on the
are.
podcast and we're already crying. What do we do?
Honored to
What do
be
we
with the
do?
two of you today.
And you're getting the fresh version, like
Yeah.
round one.
Yeah, Tatum, welcome to That Sounds Fun.
Thank you.
Dear everyone, here's my sister. Sounds just like me.
Sounds just like you.
Yeah, it's one of the funny things is that I'm like, I wonder if people are going to have a hard time because they're used to my voice, but here's another human on the planet that sounds just like me.
Version B.
That's exactly right. Okay, David Thomas, thank you for making time again. This is your 4th episode of That Sounds Fun. What an honor.
Can't believe that.
I know.
Do I get a robe like SNL at
Well,
some
here's what
point?
happens. Look behind you. The Hall of Fun is right there, and that's when you hit number 5. So your next one,
We're so close.
I've got to be
you'll
on
join
my best behavior today
Santa.
so I get invited
You'll
back.
join Dave
Oh, my
Barnes. You'll
goodness.
join Jamie Crockett, John Mark Comer, Eddie
I wouldn't know what
Koffoltz.
to
There's
do
a
in
crowd.
that
There's a
company.
crowd.
My goodness.
I know. It's a fun little group. We are here today because Tam and I have written a new book. And technically, all 3 of us have written this book because you also are a very vital part of this work. So thank you
Absolutely.
for that, David.
I was honored that I would even get to participate in this work.
It was
Such a gift.
huge help. So I think most of my audience knows, but we'll say it again. Tatum, you and your husband, Jacob, had a baby 2 years ago, TJ, who lived 56 days.
Yeah.
Will you tell a little bit, kind of back up, tell whatever amount of your story you want to tell, your lost story, just to kind of give people an overview of the last few years?
Yeah. So I think our story is one that unfortunately a lot of people can relate to. We met and got married in 2015, and 6 months into marriage, we had our first miscarriage. And we went on to have 3 more miscarriages, one of which was later, it was in the 2nd trimester, and we got to meet our little girl and say goodbye, which was, of course, gut-wrenching. So that's our daughter. Her name is Hope. She was born in 2017. So after our 4 miscarriages in the span of less than 3 years, we had the opportunity to do IVF. And sadly, that also failed. So we lost 3 little baby embryos in that process too. And so by the end of 2019, we'd been married 4 years, and we had 7 babies with Jesus. And then we miraculously, spontaneously got pregnant with Sam, which I was terrified, frankly.
I'm sure. The whole time?
There was a point we got the genetic testing done, the blood work, and that came back good. And a couple weeks later, my OB said, everything's good. You're not even high risk. You're good to go. And after that, it was a huge weight off.
Yeah. Were they the genetics say this child is miraculous and the
Yes.
best thing that's ever happened to the planet?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
exactly.
good, 'cause that's kinda true.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. But it was wild because all the other losses and even the IVF failure were all flukes. There wasn't an actual cause that could be fixed. And so it was just it was super challenging to process and a lot of grief. And then Sam, miracle boy, just the greatest joy. A gift to us, a gift to our whole family. that kid, like, we really mostly just need to pray that we don't put too much on him because he is like the best. And as soon as he was born, I told Jacob, I was like, listen, he can't, I want to do everything in my power to give him a sibling. Like, I know that that would take a lot because of what we'd been through. And, you know, time doesn't help in these situations. I was 38 when Sam was born. And so, you know, medical people already call that geriatric pregnancies or advanced maternal age. But miraculously, like 15 months, Sam was 15 months old and we found out we were pregnant. And so because of our history, like the thing I just kept praying is, Lord, let us keep this one. And when we were just 12 weeks, we did the genetic testing and found out that TJ was really sick. He had a life-limiting diagnosis. And one that there's nothing doctors can do, and a wide range of what could happen. Most of the babies with his diagnosis don't even make it to birth. Those that do, most of them pass away within the first few months.
And even ours, like we were kind of prepared with TJ that it was going to be, he wasn't going to leave the hospital.
We had like, it was really complicated. The anticipatory grief of what we knew was eventually going to happen, but having no clue what the in-between would look like.
And the praying for a miracle the whole time.
And also the tension of holding that, like believing that God could have done anything at any moment. And if there hadn't been, like, if we had the best care in NICU, the best care at Kennestone Hospital, the NICU team was incredible. And if he hadn't had NICU care, it was like 24 hours after he was born that they came in our room and they were like, y'all need to eat some breakfast and come. We've had some events overnight. We don't know how much longer TJ has, like, call your family, blah, blah, blah. And that was like only 24 hours. And so if he hadn't had care, he would not have lived more than a few hours. Yeah. He couldn't breathe. His heart was too weak. There was so many things. But it was so kind of the Lord. He lived for 3 weeks in NICU and then 5 weeks in our home on hospice care, where we just got to have family around him all the time. And Sam got to have a lot of time with him. It was such a sweet gift that we just wouldn't have gotten if he had stayed in NICU the whole time, which he would have gotten great care there. It would have been great, but it just was a different feel. So that's the story of our kiddos. We look forward to the day when we have a big old party up in heaven.
I would FaceTime a lot of nights with TJ because I was up here part-time, there part-time. And the weekend where he was kind of getting sicker, we had a nurse friend, our friend Meredith, that a lot of people listening know, that Meredith Touring, I think you know Meredith too. Meredith had very kindly flown down a couple of times, did overnights because once TJ was at Tatum's house, there was you had to have 24-hour care.
Which was me and Jacob.
Yeah, for a while. And
for a while, Annie worked so hard to make sure that it wasn't only me and Jacob. She made so many calls and worked so hard to make sure we had extra care coming in to help us.
Once I realized it was just them, I was like, the what? And I was like, I'll be down there in a minute. And I got in the car and got some phone numbers and we got some nurses in there, but then also Meredith. But when she called me, this is like my favorite story of TJ getting to be home for a while. When she called me and said, hey, you need to come down this weekend. I think this is probably the last few days of his life. When we were FaceTiming, I was like, TJ, our whole family is coming Saturday. We're going to have a barbecue. We're going to have steak. It's going to be awesome. You got to stick around. All these cousins are coming. And sure enough, he did. He just did exactly what I told him to do.
Listen, that boy had more fight in his little tiny 4-pound self than, even our friends who are cardiac ICU nurses. Yeah. They still talk about like it was the amount of health issues he had stacked against him and his tenacity. Yeah. That's why we named him Timothy Jacob, and my husband's name is Jacob, but we also named him after the Jacob in the Bible, who was so tenacious, like wrestled with the Lord, and that was why we named him that. We wanted him to fight in such a way that, like Timothy, even though he was young, he led others and glorified the Lord, and we wanted his tenacity to reflect that. So that boy, he held on so long.
Yeah, he was a fighter.
And he lived into his name.
He sure did, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that. He so did.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
David, there are so many families listening who have been through miscarriages, who have been through a loss of a baby in a bunch of different ways. One of the things we experienced that is not unique, but it was unique to us, was parenting other kids. I mean, we had Sam, we had our nephew Green. I mean, there are a lot of other kids in the story too. And before TJ died, it was kind of this like, how do we do this in the middle? How do you, like, for Tatum's whole pregnancy, when people were saying how excited they were for her and when's the baby coming and all that, that is a weird other thing when the baby's sick, but the person at CVS doesn't know the baby's sick. What are some,
or
like,
your nurses at your OB office don't know the baby's sick.
Right.
It was really traumatic every time because they didn't. So, congratulations. I'm like, ugh.
Read the chart.
Yeah, exactly. And I finally at the end, I was like, can you just put a note on my chart? Like, can you put a flag right there? Because this is getting very old.
Yeah.
I have to explain to the nurse that my baby is sick and dying every time I come in here.
Yeah. So what are some, like, best practices at that point, David? What happens before the baby, before the miscarriage, maybe before the diagnosis comes to fruition, before the sibling dies? What do we do in that window?
Yeah. Well, I would first say, you were talking about all the kids who were a part of this story, including your amazing son. What a gift to have had that many intentional adults surrounding them. And, the research has long told us that if kids have at least one safe adult, just one. So if they have more than one, that's just extra and icing on the cake, but just one safe adult, they can navigate any transition, any tragedy, any loss. And so the fact that these kids were so surrounded, what an incredible gift. And, we talk a lot about following kids' lead when it comes to navigating loss, when it comes to making sense of hard things. And we believe that kids have this internal barometer where they ask the questions that they are ready to have answered. And that's key.
Okay.
Because sometimes they won't ask the question because I think they have this knowing, like, I can't really work with that answer right now.
I mean,
and
me
so
too.
I'm not going to ask it. Absolutely. And so it makes sense. And it's fascinating how much evidence I've seen of that in my work. And even kids who would say later down the road, like, I knew, but I just wasn't ready to talk about it yet. And so if we follow their lead, then I think they'll lead us to the things they're ready to hear and receive.
Even in the middle of things,
I agree.
Yeah, wow.
And, that remembering for us as grown-ups that they're always taking cues from us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that means a lot of things for us as grown-ups. It means, am I doing my work so that I can, we talk about grieving with emotion with kids, but not on them. I'm working through my stuff so that I can be sad with them.
Yeah.
But I've got another context where I'm working through that sadness, so they're not responsible for carrying all that.
Yeah,
and that's key.
So good.
Yeah. And so I can look at them in the eyes and say, I feel really scared right now. I feel really sad right now. But they aren't getting the freshest version of that. And there's another safe place where I'm working through some of the intensity of that so that I can be present with them and their emotion.
That's really helpful because there's probably an inclination in me as an aunt and as an Annie to all these mini BFFs, a crazy Annie, as the Barnes kids call me, to be able to talk about pain and sadness from a very fine spot. Yeah, that was really sad. But even when TJ was dying, Xana was asking me a lot of questions. Like the kids here knew, and they were asking me a lot of questions, and I couldn't be like this very healthy. Well, I am healthy, but I couldn't do this very emotionless responses, even to these kids who love my family and just were checking on how's TJ doing and how's Sam doing. And so that's a great balance to like, I was giving Annie Barnes my deepest sadness. I was giving Xana Barnes my balanced sadness, hopefully.
Great way to
as
say
best
it.
I could.
Yes.
As best I could.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're knowing within that it's okay for me to be sad
Yeah.
with them, because I think to everything you said, Annie, we sometimes do hold ourselves responsible. Like, I need to have worked all that through so that when I'm
Yeah.
talking with them, I can talk about it in another tense. No, you don't. Like,
Yeah.
we're preparing them when we have those conversations for what
Yes.
all three of us know will be their losses throughout life. Like, this
Yeah.
is a part of life this side of heaven. And so there's preparation in this if we can do it in those ways.
What's the talk a little bit to the parents who've had miscarriages or loss before birth or at stillbirth? That I think sometimes there's I should get over this quicker. I should be fine. It was only second trimester. It was only first it was only 12 weeks. And that's not how it goes when it's a human.
No.
Yeah.
And we are never benefiting ourselves or others when we compare grief or when we categorize grief
Yeah.
or when we believe that it's linear or that it has a timeline. And so
Right.
Man, could it though?
Right. Could we change it and make it linear?
good if
From
it
left to
were.
right?
Checklist.
Yes.
Understanding
indeed.
what's coming in the future.
Yes.
Oh man.
Indeed. You know, one thing as we talk about this that we can learn from kids that they do in a remarkable way that we tend to lose as adults is we talk about this equation of grief and play that kids instinctively move in and out of. Like, they know how long I can talk about something and then I can't talk about that anymore. And they'll often give very clear cues. Like, I've had plenty of kids in my office or parents report kids will put their hands over their ears like, can we be done talking right now?
Wow.
Or I don't need to talk anymore. Or they'll get up mid-conversation. And you all, there's something healthy about that. We can swim too long in the deep end of the pool as adults. And kids instinctively know, like, I've been underwater long enough and I need to come up for air. And they'll move into play as a way really of caring for themselves and healing themselves and restoring themselves that we could really learn from. And so that equation of grief and play is a great thing to take from kids. And if we're following their lead, they're going to so often give us very obvious cues of, okay, this is when we need to finish out the conversation for right now, and then we'll move back into it at some point.
Yeah. In the midst of TJ's life, I had a trip to Scotland planned. And I was like, I am not going to go to Scotland to see my friends. And Tatum and Jacob were like, yes, you are. Go. You've already had this plan. He's going to be, he's here. He's, like, you can go. And so the visual I used, particularly in 2022, when there was multiple things at once, TJ being the most significant thing, was I felt like a whale that had to come up and blow out my blowhole. Like, I had to. I could not. And I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm not built to be down there very long anyway. But I mean, I had to come up for air.
Yes.
And I think I went to Disney with the Barnes too. I went to
So
Disney
good.
for 2 days with the Barnes in the middle of TJ's life. And thank you for letting me do that, Tatum.
Oh my gosh. Whatever. Like, the amount of support that you and the rest of our family and Jacob's family, like, there's no thank you to us for anything. Like, we were so well cared for by you and by the rest of our family and Jacob's family. It was such a gift. So anytime you went, I was just glad for you to get a place to breathe.
That sounds fun.
Okay, now back to our conversation with Tatum and David.
That sounds fun.
Can I ask you a question on the same, like, train of what we're going? There were some days where, like, talking about the your grief and, like, stewarding your kids' grief and, like, loving them well in that and, like, letting them see you sad. What would you say to especially the moms who, the grief looks a little different for moms and dads who are just really not okay?
Yes.
And one of the big challenges on top of that is feeling guilty that you're not being a good mom in that moment. And that you're not even like how can you attune to their grief when you're so deep in yours? So can you talk to the moms in that phase of it that like it's really taken all they've got just to, like, show up and feed their kid that day?
Yes.
How do they parent in that? And how do they talk to themselves in that season? knowing it is a season. Like, I'm so grateful. Like, it is a season, but it's so hard to feel like
the acute part of grief is what you're
yeah,
saying.
the
Yeah.
like intense acute grief stage. Like, I was thinking about that when I was looking through our questions and just thinking about how like it's I would just love to hear what you say to those parents in that stage.
It's such an important question. I'm glad you asked it. And I would first say that there will absolutely be times when you're not okay.
Yeah.
And to know that and give yourself permission to not be okay in different moments and to figure out what do I need to do for those moments and seasons for myself and as a parent, as a person and a parent. But the reality in summary to that being that you are navigating what I call unimaginable loss. Because, I know with great certainty I've lost one parent. I'm going to lose another at some point, but I don't ever anticipate losing my children. And so none of us do. And so to know you won't be okay first. And I would say in those days, and it's reflective of even the way you all talked about circling around these kids and each other through this process of having a backup plan in place for those days when I can. And maybe it's just a code word and you text that to your spouse, your friends, some other trusted adult that they then know, okay, I'm coming on the court and you're coming off the court right now. And you do whatever you need to do. And
even if it's an hour. I mean, because sometimes
So
people
true.
can't give, like I'm thinking about my parents, there are times where they could maybe help for 2 or 3 hours, but they may have something or may not be able to cancel or,
Yes. I had a family I worked with years ago that were navigating a similar chapter in their story. And she had a friend who'd come by at a real regular time every afternoon and get her older child and leave the house for a walk with a dog. And that it was real
great.
purposeful for that kid. And she would say, I need to cry so loud sometime that he would A, hear it and B, likely be alarmed by that. And so they'd take a great walk every day at that time. And it opened up all the space for her
That's
to
it, 45 minutes.
do whatever
what a
she needed to
gift.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think within that would be the other thing that I would say is we talk a lot about moving kids toward purpose in their grief and how healing that is. I think it's true for all of us. And so I think anytime we can talk with kids in those moments about the things we're doing, the purposeful things that we're doing that are helping us in some way. So it's not solving it all, but it's like, hey, I feel incredibly sad today, more sadness than I felt yesterday or last week. And here's what I'm going to do that I think gives kids this sense of peace that the grown-ups around me have a plan in place. And it's fascinating to me how many times I've heard young kids report their parents' plan back to me that I can tell they need to say it out loud. Like, my mom's going to meet with her counselor on Wednesday.
Don't you love that?
Absolutely.
Good parenting.
I know.
When the kids are like, I'm in counseling and so are my parents.
There it is. They know with so much certainty these are the things that my parents are doing. Interestingly enough, when that's not happening, I've had kids ask me, would you tell my parent that? Like, will you tell my mom to go meet with her person? Will you tell my mom and dad they need to meet with their marriage person? I've had kids say that, and it's their knowing, okay, something's off, and I'm starting to feel responsible for that.
Wow.
And we got to get another person involved.
Yeah.
That's so good. It was so one of the things I was thinking as you're saying that is in my like Enneagram 1, like we work in full-time ministry. That's our job, my husband and I. And so I think that it was tricky for me, and it still is sometimes, to find the balance of like, am I doing this right? Am I grieving right? Am I grieving in a way that honors the Lord? Am I grieving in a way that like helps Sam see like a healthy grief? Like, am I doing it the right way? And so, I remember in the early days thinking like I would look at people who had like created foundations or whatever. And I would just think, I can't do that. I can't do that right now. Like I don't have. And so even the thought, like I remember thinking in the early days, I should be doing something to turn this pain into purpose. And I mean, like, obviously now we really, really have in such a way, like Annie's generosity, we have done that in such an amazing way. But I was constantly feeling guilty that I wasn't doing that enough at the beginning. And so but even like what you said about just communicating what you are doing.
Yes.
And I mean, Sam knows that I go to a counselor and we talk about how.
And Sam's 4 for everybody listening.
Yeah,
He's 4
Sam's
now.
4.
Yeah.
He's incredibly smart for a 4-year-old and
sure.
emotionally mature.
Yes.
But
And ridiculously handsome. Do
Yes,
you ever
so
start to think
cute.
about him as an adult man? Like,
Listen,
oh yeah. Anytime I see, he's also, the reddest redhead ever. Anytime I see a grown redhead, I'm like, oh, that's going to be Sammy, but he's going to be so much cuter.
Tatum says it's like parenting a celebrity to parent a redhead.
1,000%. We get stopped. Like I every single time we're in public, we get stopped. I check in with him. I'm like, how do you feel when people talk about your hair? And he's like, I like it. I'm like, okay, great. If we ever have a problem. But anyway, it's helpful to hear you say that even just talking about what you are doing to survive is purpose, is giving some purpose to it. So that's really helpful.
Yes. I think the other part of where that's helpful is we're also offering kids ideas around ways to navigate their own grief. So if I'm saying, I went on a walk today with a friend and we talked and that was really helpful. I wrote in my journal today. I say to kids a lot, like, I read the Jesus Storybook Bible out loud to myself and I'm a grown up. That book's not just for kids.
Yes.
Because I need those reminders. And so we're offering them ideas in the midst of offering this help of these are the things I'm doing so you're not responsible. And these are some ideas that might be helpful for you too.
How long in a family after a loss of an infant are you talking about it? Is it forever?
I think it's forever.
Okay.
And I think it's as often as feels helpful.
Okay.
And different family members are going to need to talk more and some will need to talk less. And I will simply say to any of you listening who have boys, I can't tell you how often I have heard parents of boys say, he gets annoyed when his sister wants to talk about it again or when she wants to look at pictures or tell stories. And I have always believed that's so helpful for those brothers.
Yeah.
Even if they act annoyed or put out or again, whatever it might be, because she's leading him into some grieving that he might not do on his own in the exact same way. That's incredibly helpful. So everybody gets to say.
Why did you and Jacob say yes to us doing Where Did TJ Go?
Well, I think, when we found out that TJ was sick, one of the things I asked my counselor is like, how can I prepare Sam for this? Like he's only, he was only like 18 months at the time, but he was already very chatty and understood a lot more than I was ready to start explaining about life. But, and so you asked around and
I called David. I called you and Sissy and said, can we get a book?
Yeah. And I mean, you called other friends who have walked a similar road.
Yep.
Who are also authors.
Yes. And
we just couldn't find a book that had the gospel hope infused with the story.
Yeah.
And there were a few books. There's a couple books that exist that probably work for some families. And there is one that we had that really did serve us and that was helpful. But the idea of having a book that you can read with your kid, because we know that having someone else's words is really helpful in these situations. Like when I'm deep in grief, it's really hard. Like you were saying, talking to Xana, it's really hard to come up with words to say to help explain when you're just drowning in it yourself. And so to have somebody else's words to read. But then also one of the things I love about having this book now is I think that even just for the parents to feel a little bit like there's something they can do to somehow help their kid, because it does feel very like you have no control, and there's not a lot. It feels like there's not a lot you can do to help your kid. And so to have a tool. So it was an easy yes for Jacob and I to want to share this story. And and also such an honor to get to share TJ with the world. Most families in our situation don't have this opportunity. And it is such a gift that we get to see how his life can really had purpose in ways beyond what we have already seen. Yeah. It's such a gift that so there were so many reasons why we were really excited about doing this.
The name of the child is so important. I don't know that I knew that profoundly, but in 2024, and on Infant Loss Awareness Day, I just did an Instagram story and I said, we've experienced this in our family. If you have experienced this, then I would just put your kid's name in this. I would just like to see their name, and I'll read every name. Hundreds, David. Hundreds of people. I mean, we could not keep up. I could not keep up the amount of people who have experienced infant loss that just wanted to say the name of their child, or the name that they would have, or we never named her, but this was our story. And so I think you know this, Tatum, but one of the things we're doing with Where Did TJ Go is we have in memory of book plates that are just free. Like if all people have to do is tell us the name, and I'll sign it in memory of that, so that in every copy of Where Did TJ Go, they can put their kid's name too. That was really important to me. After that happened in February and in October, we were like, oh, this is a thing we need to pay attention to. What's that about, David?
It's about a lot of things. But I want to say this first. And this is probably the part where I'm going to cry. In 30 years of doing this work, I've read, reviewed, and recommended a lot of children's books to families. And you're 100% on target that there's nothing like this available. And you, too, will never know the gift you've given. You just will never know all the places this book is going to travel, and the healing it's going to offer, and the opportunity for conversation where folks are going to feel overwhelmed, like, I don't know how to talk about this, that you're going to make it so easy to talk about because you were willing. Because I don't want to assume to know this, but I suspect, to the great question your sister asked you a minute ago about the why, but David Kessler has done a lot of great work. He's a grief expert and wrote a lot with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who's kind of the most known voice, I think, in the space of loss. And she talks about the 5 stages. He added a 6th stage, which is meaning.
Oh, wow.
And he wrote a beautiful book called Finding Meaning. And he talked about how important that is as a part of this journey for people, and the outcomes that look different when we can find our way to that 6th stage. And so it's a great work, and to me, you are living evidence of that. And I think this offering is a picture of that in the most beautiful of ways. And so there aren't enough ways to say thank you to the two of you. And I can't wait to talk with countless families about this beautiful offering.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
And now back to finish up our conversation with Tatum and David.
That sounds fun.
It's real funny, David, because I what happened is we knew TJ was sick, and we were coming. It was just days before. Tatum, I need you to tell the part about when I actually gave it to y'all, because I don't remember it correctly. I don't think. But I mean, I didn't write it to make it a book. I wrote it because the only thing, the skill I have is writing books, and my nephew was in need.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I was driving from Franklin back to Nashville, and I just started, I started knowing the story. And so I'm driving, so I'm voice memoing myself, and I'm just recording, and I'm like, and then this happens, and the whole thing was downloaded to me. And I knew the exact story I wanted to tell Sam about where TJ was, or where we thought TJ was going to go when he was born. We did not know we would have the 56 days that we had. But it was so wild to see the whole book and know the whole book, and to selfishly insert myself into the story. My own work I've done for the last 10 years played into being able to say to kids, there are really hard stories with really beautiful parts to it. And I don't think I had that language as a grown-up until I was doing my work for the last decade of being able to put together, like, this is a really sad story with a really beautiful part. But I'm like, man, if we can teach Sam that at 4,
Right.
then, or at the time at 2, then like, hey, this is a really sad story, but here are the beautiful parts. What a better setup he has. And so, I mean, we did like clip art. Yeah. And we, long before we ever considered publishing Where Did TJ Go as a book, it was clip art, and it was more words that are in the book now. And then after I gave it to Sam, I called my agent, and I was like, I
I actually think this might be helpful. And God bless Revell Publishers and Baker, because they were immediately like, we need this.
Yes.
So then I was like, oh, Tatum, this book that I wrote that you've been helping me make better and working on, can we make this? Can we give this to other people? And so it has just been a God thing from the start, it felt like to me.
Yeah.
I felt like it isn't mine alone. I didn't come up with the story. It was handed to me. And it was always just for Sam.
Yeah.
But now it's also for the other 6 cousins that we have that are in our family that are going to forever have TJ as part of their story, particularly Green, who met him. And did Hallie meet him too? No, just Green. And so we have, but then now we have people that know about the book now. We're recording this before we've announced it, but we have people that know about the book now that say to me, I have someone I need to give it to right now. And so I'm just glad that, what we say all the time, we don't want anyone to need this book. But for everyone who does, we hope it serves their family and helps them. Tatum, what did you need from a book that you hope Where Did TJ Go is for families?
I think one of the things I needed was to be able to point Sam to truth and hope that I didn't have to manufacture myself, that I didn't have to, that didn't have to come from within me. I needed an external source to dream and be creative about the beauty of where TJ was headed, and to kind of prepare Sam for the reality of what that meant for our family, and the sadness that would be for us here, but the beauty that TJ would be experiencing and the fun that he would be experiencing. Yeah, and I think that having something, we read the Jesus Storybook Bible, we still do. That's one of our main go-tos, and so we read a lot about the Revelation 1 and and especially and where God makes all the sad things come untrue. But having something that would be so specific to what heaven will be like and the goodness of being with Jesus. To be able to point him to that and to be reminded myself. I think that's one of the gifts of this book too, is that I needed that hope and I needed the space to dream about what it would be like for TJ.
Yeah.
Can I brag on something else I love about this book?
Yeah.
I think in addition to the beautiful way you all anchor folks to truth and hope, you accomplish that. I think you give so much space and opportunity for any feeling and what it's like to navigate the sadness. But also, we talk a lot about how kids are concrete thinkers in terms of their cognitive development, and so the world's very black and white, and we tend to accidentally use a lot of abstract language with kids. It's why so many adults will say, that person passed on. That's abstract language, and it doesn't make sense to kids. And you did a beautiful job of using concrete, factual language. You talk about being actual and factual with kids, and you all did it in an extraordinary way. Just the language and the way you talked about what happened with his lungs and what happened with his heart. And rarely do I find work that accomplishes all of those things in the way you just knocked it out of the park. Your capacity for doing all those things is within this work, which is one of the many reasons I love it so much.
Thank you. And for our friends listening, at the back of the book, you've written a letter to parents with some other resources, some other ways, some tips, for lack of a less crass word for such a thing as this, but some advice on, okay, now that you've read it, here is some things you can do and some steps you can take. That's really helpful.
So helpful.
Our illustrator, Jenny Poe, who's also done What Sounds Fun to You and So Happy to Know You,
just did such an incredible job
So beautiful.
on this. Oh my gosh. I mean, and like she went back and read the whole Caring Bridge. She drew.
She did?
Yes. She read the
I didn't
entire
know
Caring
that.
Bridge. She drew TJ as we knew TJ. She drew TJ as a kid. She drew, I mean, it is just amazing. By far my favorite page that I think was such a gift she offered. It felt like a gift to me. Is when Jesus is reading to TJ, he's reading TJ one of my books.
Yeah.
And so did Tatum. Tatum read TJ one of my books. And so it is just such a gift that there's this idea, this like moment in where did TJ go? That because I'd like for you to talk from, I'm getting somewhere on this. I'm not just self-talking.
Is this a counseling session? Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately for David, I imagine his entire life are counseling sessions because
that
you're
is how it goes.
You're so generous with your wisdom. But that mattered to me because it's not my kid. And I'm not the mom. I'm the aunt. And there are a lot of our friends listening who are not the mom. They are the aunt or the sister or the cousin. They are the best friend of Tatum's best friends were so helpful and so heartbroken with us. The funeral was full. I mean, my best friend's parents came to the funeral.
Yeah.
And so our college friends sang at the funeral. I mean, everyone has to process this grief. Yes. And so Jenny drawing that of Jesus reading TJ, one of my books, felt like a reminder that other people see the other people besides the parents. So will you talk for a minute to the aunts? Mm-hmm. Will you talk for a minute to the uncles, to the extended family and friends?
The grandparents.
The grandparents, right. I mean, our parents have suffered. I mean, it's been tragic to watch. And our uncle. I mean, a lot of people everyone's grieved. Yes. But talk a minute to the aunts and the others.
I love that you asked that. And I would first say that I think the same rules apply in terms of making sure we've got places where we can do our own work so that we, again, have all those things to offer these little people we love. And I would say, secondly, even going back to the great question, Tatum, you asked a little bit earlier, that, when I talked about kids just need that one safe person, it's important to acknowledge within your question, like, I can't be that person every hour of every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so what does it look like for me, to lean into all that wisdom of it takes a village, and knowing that these are the other trusted adults in my child's life who are going to step onto the court when I need to step off the court and be that. And I think the other thing I would say is what we often see with kids when families are navigating grief and loss is that as kids have their thumb on the pulse of a family in ways that I don't think we give them near enough credit for. Like, it's fascinating how they read families.
And kind of terrifying.
Yes, it is. It is. They're so intuitive. And as that's happening, and they may become aware, my mom is having a really hard time right now. My dad is having a really hard time right now. What will start to happen is that they will feel a safety to bring their questions and emotions to Aunt Annie.
Can we call Annie?
Yes.
Can we call Sally?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we even say in our work to parents, like, it's not that you're not safe. Like, it's just that you are a key player in the story. And there'll be moments where it just feels better to unload all of that here because I'm not carrying all the extra stuff. And so that is...
And I'm not disciplining.
Yes.
And I'm not feeding. And
there
I'm not,
is.
I'm not bathing. I'm not doing all those other things. Yeah.
So it's just an incredible gift and this extra layer of support we have to offer. And I'd say the last thought I had was, I think to the finding meaning and purpose piece, you can play such a primary role there. Yeah. So, as they're thinking about, I don't know what to do, I want to do something, I think that's so often what kids are feeling. Yeah. And you could say, let's make your mom's favorite banana bread right now.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go walk that puppy because they need a lot of walks right now. And mom's taking a nap. Like whatever it may be that allows them to move into something missional, that they feel this sense of, I can take the emotion to something constructive. That's so needed for kids. And I think those amazing aunts, uncles, friends play that primary role in helping that happen.
Yeah.
I was so thankful for your friends and the way that your friends and like mom and dad's friends and Sally's friends came around y'all was such a gift to me because I'm sad. My tiny immediate family is sad, but I'm also sad for y'all. And y'all are working so hard to take care of us. And so having your friends taking care of you was such a gift to me.
Yeah.
Knowing that y'all had places to be cared for. Y'all had people who you could cry to. Y'all had that was such a huge gift.
I just remember at the funeral, my best friend Molly's dad, Bill, hugging me. And it gave me this moment to I can let go on Bill.
Yeah.
And I can on Dad too. I mean, my parents are fine, but we were all suffering. And here's a dad who could hold me for a minute.
That's beautiful.
And I thought, man, what a gift that I have a Bill in my life. Thank God for Bill Dykes. So
whose brother-in-law delivered TJ.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Small town stuff.
Such a gift. It was everything was just so orchestrated by the
really
Lord
sweet.
in that.
Dr. Randy is a wonderful human. And
Wonderful human.
when he was the one on call that day, it was just like,
Oh no, I scheduled it with him.
oh, you scheduled
I
Dr.
said
Randy?
I pick him.
Oh, well
He's
done.
the one.
Yeah.
No.
I would have too.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything we didn't say about the book or about TJ that y'all want to make sure we say? I mean, it comes out tomorrow, available to any family who needs it, and we're sorry that you do. But we hope it helps. What else, Tatum? What would you like to say?
I think we've said it all.
Okay.
I think.
David, any parting words that you want to make sure we get?
I really want families to be thinking beyond the individuals in your life that need this. I want you to think about the places that would benefit. I want you to buy a copy for your church library. I want you to buy a copy for your kid's school library. I really want this book to be in all those places so that it's easily accessible when people are living this story.
It can be picked up when they need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's such a gift, and such a gift for those people to keep their, even if you just buy a copy to have at your house for when it's needed, what a gift that would be to that family.
Yes.
That they don't even have to go search out resources.
Yes.
That somebody just hands them something.
Yes. But, and also, I mean, we have nonprofits that we really care about, that a portion of the proceeds are going to the nonprofits and that have been really helpful to you and your family, that have been really served us and our
So
families.
generously.
And so that matters to us too, that everyone who stepped in and helped us gets supported by the work that we're getting to do here. So, well, thank you guys for doing this today. I'm really grateful. Well done, Tatum. First podcast.
First podcast.
You nailed it. David, we love you so
pro.
much. Thank you.
Thank you for
So
having
grateful.
me. So honored to be here with you too.
It's so great.
Oh, friends, I'm so thankful for Tatum's willingness to share TJ with the world and David's wisdom through it all. What a gift. I want to remind you that Where Did TJ Go is available wherever you love to buy books. So if it would serve your family or a family that you love, I'd be honored if you pick up a copy. If you enjoyed this episode, I think you'd also love another special one with Kate Edwards from episode 1002, where she shares her story of losing her adult son and the hope she's been able to find through her grief. If you have any questions from this episode, just drop them in the Q&A box on your Spotify app if you're a Spotify listener like me, or send them to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. We'll try to answer them there for you. If you need anything else from me, I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even on the TikTok. Anywhere you need me, that's where you can find me. And I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home and do something that sounds fun to you. And I'll do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me is a cane show in El Paso. I cannot wait. I'm really excited to get to do this again today. Y'all have a great week. So I'll see you out on the road all weekend. Tomorrow, I'm in Richmond, Kentucky, then Toledo, Ohio, then South Barrington, Illinois. So Chicago, I'm coming for you. And then Sunday, I will be in Lincoln, Nebraska. So if you are anywhere close, just get your tickets at anniefdowns.com/events. And we'll see you back here on Monday with my friend, Jordan Lee Dooley.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light.